All right, guys, we promised you that we would deliver free Hornady t-shirts, limited edition, to our favorite comments on Facebook. Now, we went through and our heavily biased team found some of the funnier ones, and we're ready to announce the winners. The first winner is Weston, and Weston wrote in saying, I would really like a podcast shirt, so I will sacrifice myself to the comments in hopes for said tee. And here it goes. If you claim the 6.5 Creedmoor is bad for deer, then you A, are a poor shot, B, don't understand bullet selection, and C, are as old as the 30-06. I said what I said. Weston, you're getting a shirt. Our team will be reaching out. The next one we thought was pretty darn funny comes from Michael. Michael writes, 6.5 PRC equals professional racing cartridge. 6.5 Creed equals hold me now. I'm 6.5 feet from the edge, and I'm thinking 6 footsteps, the deer goes down. Oh, hitting up the Creed lyrics. I think those are the lyrics they meant to write. He also writes on to say, I live in Lusk, Wyoming, and I can verify that the pizza place is amazing. My dad shot an absolute stud antelope with a 6.5 PRC last season. So, Michael, you're getting a shirt. Coincidentally, I'm actually headed through Lusk for a work trip, and you can bet I'll be getting some Hawaiian pizza. Lastly, we've got a comment coming in from Rowdy. Rowdy writes in, Hornady, the company that creates products that perform admirably, but they're only successful because of their marketing. And that's a pretty big comment for our small marketing team. We love to hear stuff like that. So our team will be reaching out to those winners to get their address, send them out a free limited edition Hornady podcast t-shirt, and we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep picking winners and sending out free shirts, so you got to interact with us. We really do appreciate it.
I'm Joyce Hornady. You might say accuracy is my business. I make bullets.
You are listening to the Hornady Podcast.
Thanks for joining us, and enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Hornady Podcast. I'm your host, Seth Swerzik, and today, another rifle build for you. Popular guest on the show, popular rifle builder from the show, Preston Lintfer. Preston, thanks for coming on the show.
It's high praise.
Yeah, high praise. Dude, a nice eyebrow dance there for the viewers.
Yeah, because I didn't believe what you said.
Well,
but
it's true.
It's all good.
No, you've done several rifle build videos, sometimes, and you've been on a few of them with several builds, and everybody loves your stuff.
And it's controversial.
As it turns out, you build a nice rifle.
I'm not afraid to dive in and learn things, whereas some people might be afraid they'd screw something up.
Yeah.
That part of my brain doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm willing to screw stuff up to try stuff. And a lot of times it works out.
Yeah, it could be a CTE or traumatic brain injury.
I had a heck of a migraine last night. I wondered if it was CTE.
Well, all jokes aside, you do some awesome builds. And I feel like that's something that the viewer and the listener can really appreciate, because the fun part is the mental geometry, the gymnastics that you play, if you try to eat your burrito backwards kind of stuff. And it doesn't cost you anything to do that. And then you do a lot of that, and then you put the pencil to the paper, you plan it out, and then you do the build. You execute the build, and it's just awesome to see a lot of these come to fruition. So getting into another one. There's
a word for that, by the way.
For what?
Like doing mental gymnastics and then like just doing it really quickly without thinking through things. Impulse. I'm very impulsive.
He does some impulse builds.
I do need some help in the comments below. Judd's got about 3 different rifles he's been planning on building for a number of years at this point, and he's the opposite of impulsive. So drop it down in the comments. Judd, let's get these rifles built, and he can be on this.
You heard it here. And we'd also be curious if you have a suggestion for Judd. Does he need a 6.5 PRC? Does he need the 7 PRC? Custom action, Tikka action. What should he do? We could have a whole podcast just of Judd trying to figure out what he needs to build.
Yeah, well, we could throw out the options, and hopefully people will drop it in the comments what he should do, and we'll tally it up, and then he has to do it.
Oh, that would be great. We signed him up just now, just this minute. Yep. Judd, you can't back out.
That's the next episode.
Also of note, before we dive into this build, we've got some Hornady Podcast t-shirts.
Oh, yeah, they were mentioned in the last podcast.
Yep.
I wore one.
Yep. So we need to get more people engaged, more people interactive with us. So we're going to continue to do some giveaways, because the only way to get one of those shirts is to get them from us. Those things aren't anywhere. You're not going to buy those. You have to engage with us. You have to let us know comments. Facebook is a great place to interact with us. It's a lot easier to interact for our social media
we can
team.
slide into your DMs and get your information and send you a shirt.
Exactly. So drop a comment on Facebook. Let us know what you're liking. Let us know maybe your build, your suggestion, just something. We're going to pick some of the best ones out there, and we're going to send you a free Hornady Podcast t-shirt. And those shirts are cool. They're comfy. You need to get one of those. If you're an avid listener, you need one of those.
Limited edition.
Yep. Right. So jumping into this, Preston, this is going to be something that very few people, I think, are going to be super keen on, like, oh, I know what that is already, or whatever. Because, yeah, our builds with Stillers, our builds with Zermats, our build with impact actions. Okay, everybody knows that. And then you throw in the Manders and the Macmillan and the Iota stock. Everybody knows those. And it's an assemblage of parts that most everybody's heard about. This is a little bit off the beaten path.
Very much so.
Before we dive into the build, tell us, high level, what is this chambered in and why did you build it?
This is a 6mm arc on a Howa Mini Action.
Okay.
And the reason I built it was, at the time I built it, there wasn't a 6 arc in a Howa Mini Action. And I've always loved Howa Mini Actions. I've had a fondness for Howas.
Yep.
This was my first precision rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of discovered the Mini Action. I said, that's really, really cool. And then coincidentally, we make awesome cartridges that fit into them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it wasn't available, so you just did it. And I feel like that's one of the biggest takeaways from this specific build and going into your impulsive nature is, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to build one. You're going to build a 6 arc on a Mini Action? Yep. What are you going to do with it? I don't know. You're going to shoot it? Maybe. Maybe sometimes I'll shoot it. Otherwise, I'll have it, which would be cool to have one. And that was really this rifle, you know, it looks like it can do a lot of things well. Sure. So you've built it. You've got a lot of guns that do a lot of things. What do you find yourself primarily doing with this little Mini 6 arc?
Honestly, it's just been an awesome range gun.
Okay.
Really?
Going to the range. I just throw some guns in the truck.
Yeah. And ideally, and we can talk about this later on, but I may shorten this stock, and then it'll be a really, really great option for the kids as they get into deer hunting.
Mm-hmm. So throw it in the range. You can beat some steel up at long range if you want. Be great on a coyote, shoot bobcats, prairie dogs. More than effective enough for deer and antelope.
Yeah, it can do all of those things.
Yep. And it's tiny. It's like a rifle, only smaller.
Yes, it is. It is. Indeed, it is tiny. And right now, it's in its shortest configuration. It's got a Thunder Beast Ultra 5 on the end of it, which we'll talk about.
Yeah. All right. So let's start in right off the top. So you've got high level. You wanted to build a 6 arc on a tiny little action, just to say that you did, and to do stuff with it. Shoot. Yeah. Whether that be take it to Texas and shoot pigs, shoot deer in Nebraska, shoot antelope in Wyoming, shoot coyotes on the prairie. Just a variety of tasks. And then, like you said, mainly throw it in the truck. You're going to dial in one of your PRS guns. Well, while that barrel's cooling down, you can jump on this thing and stretch the legs, and it's low recoil, cheap to shoot, doesn't burn up much powder, factory ammo. So you said the Howa Mini. Let's jump in to the heart of the build, the action. Now, you could have done a standard short action like we've all done.
Yep.
What draws you to Howa, and specifically the Howa Mini for this build?
Well, I had one.
That's a good start.
6.5 Grendel. So this action right here started life as a rifle in their plastic stock in a 6.5 Grendel heavy barrel.
Yeah,
shot
great little cartridge.
Really great shooting gun. I took a deer hunting numerous times. I don't think I ever got a deer with it. But anyway, I just like the idea of a short action that's shorter than short.
It is
with a skinnier bolt. It's mini.
Yep. So I don't know the difference. I want to say it's like 1.5 inches in stroke length between your standard short action and your mini.
It's considerable. Now, at the time, you could get a 6.5 Grendel, I think even 300 Blackout 223.
Yep.
And a 7.62 by 39.
So that's
the only things you could get in mini action.
And Grendel are the same bolt face as the arc.
Right.
So just a natural, like, oh, I've got this gun, and the Grendel's fun, but the 6-ARC is more fun.
Well, and going way back to the 6-ARC podcast, I thought to myself...
Yeah, which was like episode 12 for us.
Yeah, which is kind of wild to think about. But I thought to myself, I've got this fixed amount of powder room, and I have to shoot a moderate BC, moderate weight bullet in 6.5 Grendel.
Mm-hmm.
And then we started making, the industry had started making high BC 6mm bullets. I said, well, I can get the velocity up, and my BC essentially stays the same or better than those moderate weight 6.5s.
Right.
And so the 6mm Grendel or whatever have you that eventually turned into the 6-ARC had piqued my attention for a long, long, long time. So I've always been fond of these short little cases.
Excellent. So you've got the Mini Action, which is a great donor. You mentioned, kind of your first precision rifle and having a fondness for Howa. So going back to my first precision rifle, I bought a Howa barreled action in .308 Winchester, heavy barrel, and put it in a heavy stock. And that's what I shot precision rifle with for my first couple of years. And you came on board at Hornady, asked my recommendation on, getting a long range gun together. And I said, man, I'd just buy a Howa barreled action in 6.5 Creedmoor, which wasn't available back when I had my .308, and just be done with it. And that's exactly what you did. And then you took it 2 or 3 steps further. You had one, then you shot the barrel out, then you rebarreled it, shot that barrel out, then you rebarreled it again. I mean, you had thousands of rounds through a Howa.
Went through a couple of different stocks.
Yeah, the XLR. You had a Manners on there, Bell & Carlson.
So yeah, it's my fondness for Howa is there.
Yep.
And honestly, that original barreled action had my best 10-shot group ever shot for a very, very long time.
Yeah, 41.5 H4350, everybody knows, and the 140, and it just pounded them in there.
Correct.
Cut your teeth in the long-range competitive circuit with a Howa standard action, and so it was a natural progression to jump in on their Mini. Now, early on, those flat bottom actions didn't have a ton of aftermarket support, and that has certainly changed now with triggers and stocks and chassis and you name it. So the Howa Mini started life as a 6.5 Grendel. Now, here's a question for those listeners out there who have maybe rebarreled a Howa Mini. It seemed like they used some industrial strength adhesive to put those barrels on. I remember hydraulic presses and torches and trying to get things spun off. How'd that barrel come off for you?
Not as bad as we thought. However, just putting the action wrench on with the barrel clamped in the vise and me hanging on it was not enough. We did have to get a hammer, a pretty big hammer involved.
Lead hammer.
Yep.
But we got it spun off, and you started life with that basic.
No heat even.
No heat.
So it was all right.
You got that basic Howa Mini action, and you screw the barrel off. You're going to turn it into a 6-ARC. Tell us about the barrel.
So there for a while, we really went through a liking for some very economical barrels that had a history with us of shooting very good. This is a Wilson barrel from Ragged Hole Barrels. Yeah,
raggedholebarrels.net. Very economical. And to be completely transparent, they've all shot good enough, and they're at such a budget-friendly price. When you're doing a build like this where it's like, I don't really have any expectations, I just kind of want to build it, well, then you're not out a lot of money if you get something that maybe doesn't shoot quite like a Bartline.
Right. At the time, this barrel was $170.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're much more than that right now.
And it's contoured.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like it's a solid barrel. That is a contoured blank. Looks like a kind of a heavy sporter.
Yeah, she's probably out at 700 to 750 thou out there on the muzzle.
Well, this is threaded 5/8 24, so I bet it's at least 750 back there, it looks like.
That's probably about it, though.
Yeah. So a sporter contour, it came contoured from Wilson, from raggedholebarrels.net. Very economical barrel. And you cut it short? What is this?
18, I want to think. I wish I knew that off the top of my head. I kind of forgot. This might be a 20. This is a 20-inch barrel right here.
20-inch. Okay. You sure?
Hindsight, I would have gone 18.
In hindsight.
Knowing what I know now.
Yeah. I was going to say, just from looking at a lot of barrels, I think that's a 20.
Yeah, I think it is too.
20-inch barrel, heavy sporter contour, and it came contoured. Got a nice black finish on there. This is another testament to that. This is just kind of I want to build it, so I'm building it.
Yeah, and I was lucky enough to have somebody chamber it for me.
Yep.
You know who you are, and that was really, really appreciated because the Howa Actions are metric threads.
Yeah.
So a lot of lathes, it's not that easy to cut metric.
Yeah.
Without switching a bunch of stuff over. Luckily, this is done on a CNC, and you just beep, boop, beep.
Beep, boop, beep, boop.
Yep.
Thanks, Devin. And you're chambered up, ready to go with a standard Sammy 6-arc chamber.
I bead blasted it in the sand blaster, and then I used Rust-Oleum
High performance
enamel, I believe. I believe it's an enamel.
It is an enamel.
But that comes in the silver can.
Yep.
And holy cow, does it look like
Black barrel.
kind of like an eggshell black, finish.
It does. Nice matte finish. And yeah, you could have sent this thing off and had it Cerakoted, but this is going with the idea of the build. It's just like, well, let's just get this gun together.
And I'm honestly quite fond of that paint because if it scuffs, I'll just spray a little more paint on it.
Yep. Versus if you got Cerakote, and I've got a lot of Cerakoted stuff that has some wear spots, I can't just juice it back on there.
That stuff still wears, but this, it's an economical. It looks fine.
Yep.
As Vice Grip Garage would say, it's a 50-foot type of a rifle. It looks good from 50 foot.
Well, I'd say it looks good from 6 feet to the camera.
Whatever. But is that your rig? Yeah, that's my rig.
Yeah. Or we call those in the car world 2020s. From 20 feet or 20 miles an hour, it looks real good.
Real good.
Match-proven bullet profiles that shooters love, now perfected by Hornady. Aero Match Bullets, featuring the most popular match bullet profiles and weights from across the industry. Affordable match-winning performance, unrivaled availability, unmatched bullet consistency. Aero Match Bullets from Hornady. Shoot the best.
So, a 20-inch barrel, 6-arc, standard chamber, really economical barrel, economical finish.
Twist.
8-twist barrel. And what do we got for muzzle device?
We got the 419 adapter on there.
Of course.
With the Thunder Beast Ultra 5.
Yep.
And, that Ultra 5 lives on mini rifles for me, but if I had my druthers between the 7 and the 5, I'm going to put the 5 on this one.
I'm going to put the 5 on almost everything.
Yep.
As it turns out. Well, nice looking little setup. But like you said, this is the shortest configuration with that 5-inch suppressor. That Area 419 system, that seems to just be the standard for a lot of us here in the shop. And then moving backward now from the barreled action, the factory triggers from these Howas are 2-stage.
Correct.
There's some aftermarket support in there now. Obviously, that's growing, but Timney and
I've had
Rifle
Timney,
Basics.
I've had Rifle Basics, I've had Jarred.
Yep. Oh, yeah, Jarred made a trigger. Yep. Now, what are these? What you got in this
This is a factory, and it's actually one of the nicer ones I've ever dealt with. This breaks right at 2 pounds.
Yeah. So those factory Howa triggers, they're a 2-stage trigger. So if you've never played with one of those, you have that big first stage, and then you can feel the wall, and then you get into the second stage where you're really going to break that trigger. And they can be adjusted. If you know what you're doing, you can do a little trigger job on these things, and you got this thing set at crisp 2 pounds.
Game that way.
Oh, easy peasy.
Yep. I like it when it works like that.
Yeah. And for a lot of us, those Howa triggers, because like I said, there's a lot of us that using those here in the shop early on. I just got used to that.
Yeah.
I didn't have a problem with that. Like that was great.
Well, at the time, it was the best trigger I've ever shot.
Yeah, compared to your Remington 783.
Yeah, or
710. 710, that's what it was.
Well, it's a heck of a lot better than that one.
Yep. So factory trigger, no desire to swap that out. No, good enough.
No, I have the Rifle Basics on my 223 trainer gun, but I'm trying to emulate my match trigger, which is a trigger tech.
Right.
Diamond set pretty low, not terribly low, but the standard Howa would not do it on that rifle. On this one, it's a hunting gun. It's a
might be
gun.
A kid's, your wife, might lend it to somebody. You don't need a pound trigger.
I think a 2-stage trigger for someone that's just starting, or maybe you have gloves on. I think it's nice to have.
And it's been cold. If you were going to use this on a coyote hunt, it was It was warm today, and it was -4 at the house.
I had -12 on the way in. Yesterday was -27 or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Frigid out there. So 2-stage trigger, when it's cold out like that, mechanically there's no difference. It's just your ability to perceive where you're at in that trigger pull process with a cold finger or a big glove on can be a little skew. So that's pretty cool. You have factory action with that factory trigger. You spun on a new barrel, had some help getting it chambered up.
Well, nowadays you don't even have to get a new barrel.
No, now they make them.
Right.
Yeah, and they make them in carbon, which I have, which is
cool.
Pretty darn cool. So you got the Howa. One thing I like about the Howa for a rifle like this specifically, let's talk about that safety.
Oh, yeah.
This is often overlooked.
Yeah, it's pretty rare to find them anymore. There are some out there, but this is a 3-position safety.
Yep, like a Winchester Model 70.
So all the way forward is fire. One click back is you can run the bolt, but it will not fire. And then all the way back is you can't even
lift the bolt.
Yep.
And to me, on a hunting rifle, you're like this. I look at this rifle, I think we're going coyote hunting. You're parking the truck. You might be hoofing it half a mile or something to get over some hills.
Well, somebody might, not me.
Yeah.
But
well, you don't want that bolt flipping open.
Yeah,
while you're on the hike.
Hit something or whatever happens,
it just rubs on you.
It's just in a hunting scenario. In a lot of scenarios, it's a great thing to. Yes, not only can this gun not fire, but I can't open the bolt and
flip around out or something like that. Very cool. Nice little touch that is with these Howas, obviously with the Weatherby Vanguard as well. But it's just something that I didn't really appreciate until, well, crap, my bolt's open and I just launched around somewhere in the prairie at some point on this hunt.
And never to be found again.
Yeah, and it's just, it's one of those deals that it's a little thing that can turn from good to great.
Yeah, if you we're going to say, what is your ultimate hunting gun? It's going to have a 3-position safety.
Yes. Yep. Agreed. So zooming out from the barreled action and all that, this stock is one of the more handsome stocks I've ever seen on a Howa rifle. Tell us about the stock, because it didn't always look like this.
No.
You ditched the factory plastic stock.
I did.
And you jumped into this.
So Stocky Stocks, this is a Stocky Stocks, was running I think it was a Christmas sale a few years ago. And I believe this carbon fiber stock comes in at 26 ounces, maybe 22 ounces. It's a very lightweight carbon fiber shell stock. So I went ahead and bought that. But I wasn't personally.
It was raw carbon.
Personally, I wasn't crazy about any of the finishes that they had.
Yep.
So I ordered it in raw carbon.
Yep.
And it was just black like you see here. And I went ahead and
took a trip to the Hobby Lobby.
Bought some paint.
Yeah.
And some natural sponges, and maybe it wasn't even natural sponge. I might have cut some. I don't know. Made some sponge shapes. Sprayed a little spray paint down. Grabbed the sponge. Grabbed some paint, and I hand did this.
You hand blotched it. Now that finish was really kind of popularized by GA Precision and Manners kind of together. And these finishes, they just look cool. Like I said, Manners, GA Precision, they kind of popularized those. But now you see them everywhere, and that raw carbon, some people love the look of just black carbon fiber. So the sponge thing here is really cool, because that's not like you go to the cleaning section and buy a cleaning sponge. This is a natural sponge that you buy generally at like an art supply store like Hobby Lobby.
And now that I remember, they 100% are natural sponges. And I kind of picked and chose which ones I wanted to use, because I bought this big old pack of them.
Big old bag.
And some of them weren't going to be good for what we need. So I hand selected the best ones I thought for it.
Yep.
And went at it just like my mom would have done when she was doing arts and crafts when I was a kid.
Yep. So you did 3 colors here.
Yep.
Matte colors. You got a green. You've got kind of a gray and a tan.
Believe it or not, I actually think that the colors themselves are semi-gloss.
Mm-hmm.
However, I did find a awesome matte finish spray can.
Okay.
I believe from the Krylon company that is the best matte finished clear coat I've found, and that's over the top of it. So it kind of dulled down the paint a little bit.
So this is kind of a throwback, right? And I say throwback like it's that long ago. It really wasn't that long ago, but when there was this, now you can Manners, Macmillan, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on of like cool stocks and cool finishes. Like my Gunworks Magna stock on my 7 PRC. and my dad's Iota Echo on his 7PRC. Completely separate companies. They look really similar because they have a very similar finish from the factory, and it looks really great. You kind of did this on your own, blotched it, and then back in the day, that was what you did. That's what everybody did. You know, I think back to my first dive into the precision rifle competitive community, that was the standard. Everybody had a stock that they painted, and that I did the same. Jaden did the same, and so you go home, you strip this thing with some acetone.
I'm not even sure I did
you
that.
You blotched it up there, and then you actually clear coated it.
Yeah, and I, you know, a lot of those factory stocks that you'll see, there's a little bit more exposed carbon fiber, and personally, I wanted most of it to be splotched with a little carbon fiber showing. So
Truly
it's a
custom.
personal touch.
Yep. So you personally touched it, and then you clear coated it.
You can have access to the Hornady Handbook of Cartridge Reloading at your fingertips wherever you are with the Hornady Reloading Guide app available for iPhone and Android. Check it out today.
All right. So the stock looks great. Talk about the ergonomics here, because that was one of the hesitations I had. I built my first precision hunting rifle on a Howa Action 7 mag. We've talked about it. HS stock, great stock, tough as nails. Ergonomics, though, didn't have the grip angle that I liked. And I mentioned earlier that those flat bottom actions didn't have a ton of support. There was some, but not a lot. Well, now you're into the ergonomics that you know and love.
Yeah, the stocky stocks here for the Howas are one of maybe 2 companies, maybe 3 now, that make a more vertical grip, lightweight hunting stock. You can find vertical grip
heavy stocks,
competition stocks and chassis, but they're one of the few that make a hunting stock like this. So, like I say, lightweight. I think it's 22 or 26 ounces. Still got the vertical grip. It's not as big as I like personally, but it's a mini action, so you're not going to find one. My pinky does hang off a little bit.
You're the antithesis of a mini action.
Correct. It's
giant
kind of
hands,
ridiculous, but real happy with it. Not like a flat forend or anything. It's still one that you'd want to reach up there and it'd be real comfortable to grab.
Yeah, to shoot standing.
Yes, but the back end is exactly what I want.
Yep. And once you get accustomed to a certain grip angle, some small differences here or there, it's no problem. But if you went from vertical to horizontal grip angle, it just throws you all off, especially if you're shooting prone. So to be able to jump into a stock on a mini action that fits and feels like your other hunting stocks, like that, if you only showed me that back butt stock and grip angle, I'd think that was a Manners EH1.
It could have been from many companies.
Yeah. So that's great that you're not losing out on the ergonomics and you're still picking up a lightweight stock. Finish is great. Now to round out the stock, a couple bolt-ons up front that did not come from the factory.
Yeah, it did come with a sling swivel. Went ahead and took that right off.
Yep.
And then I believe tried looking it up. This is a pure precision from Red Hawk Rifles.
Yep.
Picatinny rail with a sling mount.
Yep.
Right.
Sling swivel mount.
And then this right here, and you might have to correct me, I might be wrong, but I think this is just a little arc rail, because I don't have a lot of forend to work with here.
Mm-hmm.
So I still wanted to be able to get the hand on something nice, right?
Sure.
So I went with as little of an arc rail as I could.
Inch and a half long.
And I think this literally came from like a really cheap tripod.
Yeah, you buy a tripod and it comes
with one.
Yeah. And so we've got a bunch of those floating around, those little Arcas that just come with, you buy a new ball head, it'll come with one. You buy tripod, you buy a camera, you buy, they come with these things and they're really inexpensive aluminum, and you just simply repurposed yours.
Yeah. And I went ahead and I put a couple of T-nuts in. I did have to do some modification because those T-nuts kind of need spaced out just a little bit, and I had to put these real close.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to do some custom work on the T-nuts to get them both to fit in this little amount of space.
Okay. Well, they look great, and they're simple, and they're effective. We love clamping into a tripod,
Yep.
You get out in the sandhills, you can nestle your back up into a sandhill, lean back, put the gun into a tripod from the sitting position with the wind in your face, turn that call on, and now you're hunkered down, you're in a leaned back sitting position with the tripod pushing that gun right into your shoulder. It's a really comfortable way to do your calling, and clamping into the tripod makes that way easier. So Picatinny rail up front, running the Arca. Now, one of the critiques of the Howa Mini Actions is the bottom metal or the bottom plastic.
Which has been addressed in recent years.
Yes. So how'd you address it here? I see you've got a hinged floor plate.
So yeah, but before it had the factory bottom metal, and then the magazine release was right here.
It was plastic, was it not?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So a lot of times you'd just be getting in or out of a tree stand or whatever, and it just bumped, and then it came with a 10-round magazine. It would just
fall out. Yep.
And I knew this was going to be a hunting rifle. And I'm not opposed to using magazines on hunting rifles, don't get me wrong, but I saw or searched the internet and found that some folks, 2 different companies, I believe, were making factory replacement hinged floor plate for it. And I said, well, I've never seen that before. That's really cool.
That is. I'll have that.
So this one right here comes from Jefferson Outdoors.
Okay.
It's got a internal like a plastic
magazine box
on the inside, which I will say, I love this very much. It was not the cheapest thing in the world, not the most expensive either. It is a little tough because I got big hands. Maybe it's easier for smaller handed folks.
Let me try
to go ahead and pop because it's a friction, like a lot, with a Remington, it's kind of loose. It's a double
pop them in there,
to single feed, right? This one, you kind of have to work it into that, past those feed lips. But you're only doing that a handful of times, anyway. A lot of times when I'm at the range, I'll just single feed it.
Okay.
But really happy with this because it is a hunting rifle, and who doesn't like a hinged floor plate?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it falling out. You can lock the bolt close like we talked about, and now you're really self-contained. And in some of those areas that we like to go play around in, the moon dust, like Utah, for example, we go shoot this match in Utah. My goodness, that red, it's like baking flour type texture, and it gets everywhere. Well, now you can lock your bolt down with the hinge floor plate and try to keep all that junk out of there as best you can.
Yeah. So really, really happy with that. And I couldn't remember the name of the other company that makes them as well, but a lot of good things happening in the Howa Mini world as far as aftermarket support, and then them listening to the consumer and
absolutely
and taking care of stuff.
I like it. Yeah. Well, we talked about it that you can buy a 6-arc in the Howa Mini. You can also buy a 22-arc in the Howa Mini Action, which has come out of the gates and just been crushing it recently. I've had a lot of people reach out to me on the editorial side and on the personal level. Just, I got a 22-arc and, oh, what'd you buy? Thinking it's going to be an AR. No, Howa Mini Action.
Yeah.
So that's the stock. That's the barreled action, the trigger. You've got your accessories on here so you can clamp into a tripod and run your bipod. Now, this bipod just happened to be what you had, but it's Picatinny, so you run a variety.
Yep. Well, actually, in Picatinny, this is the only one I have anymore. All the rest of them, the Harris's, the Skypod. What are the other ones I have? I have another Atlas that is Arca. Sorry, I went smell blind there for a second. This is the only Picatinny actual bipod I have anymore. Yeah. So
Atlas, V whatever, not the V8, because this is locked leg with
got a 17 in there, I believe,
with the extendo.
Yeah, and those are actual, Atlas extensions.
Yep.
You bet.
Yep, they look good, and it gets you up over the grass, for those taller shots, and then you can still extend it from there, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it gets it a lot higher, and then even if this is too high, you can go down to 45.
Yep, perfect.
At a more normal level.
I like it.
Utilize your space your way with the modular Hornady Security Square Lock Organizing System. Mount the Square Lock panels anywhere in your home or shop. Then attach the wide assortment of Square Lock accessories to securely store firearms, tools, gear, or any other valuables in any possible configuration. Keep your reloading bench or gun room organized with the Square Lock Modular Organizing System from Hornady Security.
So, moving up now, so you can really hit what you're aiming at. Got no rail.
Correct.
Straight up. Tell us about this optics assembly.
Tally rings, which I'm a fan of on hunting.
One
rifles.
piece ring and base together. I'm a fan as well.
30 millimeter, of course, because, and by the way, these are Lowe's definitely lows.
Yep.
30 millimeter because we've got a Vortex Razor LHT. This is the 3 to 15 variety.
Yep.
So second focal plane, but I wanted light, like as lightweight as I possibly could.
Yeah. You've
for
got
whatever reason.
5 mils per rev or 6 mils per rev on that turret with a 6 millimeter bullet, slippery little bullet coming out of the muzzle. That's still a pretty far shot on one revolution. Obviously, you can spin that thing more, but you went ultralight. You've got a good turret. You've got a scope that tracks, great glass on an ultra low, ultra lightweight setup. Getting rid of the rail, going tallies, and I'm a huge proponent of that, especially on hunting rifles as well. And the 3 to 15 range, don't think it limits you on a hunt.
No, not at all. Not for the range I would feel comfortable shooting with this rifle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got all the ergonomics I like, but it is kind of a lightweight system. I mean, I could go lighter with the barrel. But, this is probably like in target shooting, I shoot it out to about 600 yards.
Yeah.
That's all I need to play with it.
Yep. Awesome. So, speaking of shooting it, you've got this awesome little setup.
Oh,
now,
also,
go ahead.
Nice reticle in here. I cannot remember the name for it, but I've got 1/2 mil windage, which is really what I want.
That's what you want. So, you got the setup, you got everything built, you got it dialed in. Now you got to shoot it. And generally, when we do a build, we kind of have a specific in mind. Like when I built my 7PRC, I'm shooting 175 ELDXs. And I might dabble with some other stuff, but that's what I'm building it for. Same thing with all of your guns as well. This one, a little different.
Yeah, I mean, we're adding more and more SKUs to 6 Arc, and I'll just feed whatever is available to it, really, because it's a fun gun.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of purpose behind it. When I'm hunting deer with it, I run the 103 grain ELDX, or I've hand loaded some 90 grain CXs, but the 103s are just the easy button, right? And then for playing around, the 108 grain ELD match has been an absolute staple in this rifle. I haven't played a whole lot with 80 grain VTs.
Okay.
A little bit, but I will. I just front sight focus has not been a whole lot of shooting here lately. It's been friggin' cold.
It has been, yeah. So everybody out there in the normal part of the world, it has been absolutely frigid, and I can't wait. Our boss, marketing director Neil Davies, he took the day off today to go hunt coyotes, as did marketeer Matt Ritchie. It is going to be a perfect day for calling coyotes because I woke up this morning, like I said, it was -4. By the time I came to work, it was already 0 degrees. So the sun's out. Those dogs have been beaten down with the wind, with the ultra cold, well below 0. You throw the wind chill in there, we're looking at temperatures into the -30s, -40 degree range. And that's hard on a coyote because they need to eat. So that sun comes out, they're going to be on their feet.
And we're on our way out of that really, really frigid stuff. Knock on wood, the non-frigid stuff lasts for a while, but also breeding season is...
It's here. It's right
pretty
now.
much here.
Yeah, they're in the heart of it right now. So they should be hyper responsive to calls. That would be a perfect time to go out, throw some VTs in this little 6 Arc, get the job done.
Yeah, and so far, it's an inexpensive barrel. It's shot everything pretty darn good.
Yep.
Acceptable for what I'm trying to do. And like I say, I'll shoot 108s out to 600 with this thing, smacking a 2 MOA plate, at a range all the time.
I love it. Well, it's a great looking little rifle. So capable, so versatile. Another great build from Preston Limpfer. Well done on this one. I like it.
This was a fun one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all fun, right? But this one's more of a challenge. This is not a Remington 700 footprint action that you can build and have the world, as your oyster as far as choices.
Bolt-ons, yeah.
The choices are pretty limited here, and I think it came out really well.
You have to get creative, and you did some creative stuff with this one. It's inspired me to maybe jump online, order another Wilson barrel just for exactly this, just something. Yeah, do I really need, I'm thinking an 18-inch 6 Creedmoor to shoot coyotes? No, I don't really need one, but pretty cool if I had one.
Be cool to, throw some 80s.
Yeah, real fast out of a short barrel.
That'd be great.
Awesome. Well, this is a great ultralight setup. I'm hoping you can use it, shoot some dogs with, or in the near future, hopefully you can get your kids out there shooting ring and steel with this thing.
Yeah, and I would mention, I think this is a 13.5-inch length pole. This is what comes standard. So if I do decide that this is going to be, for the kids is when they are up and coming in their deer hunting, I will lop this off and put a new recoil pad on it.
Excellent. Well, I trust that you'll do a good job with that. You might have another rifle build in the works by the time that happens.
Yeah,
Who knows?
maybe I'll just get another stock, right?
There you go. Or build another rifle.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Awesome. Well, Preston, is there anything else you want to leave our listener with on the 6mm arc or this build specifically?
Not on this build specifically, but I would say, I worked in tech and we dreamed about this, right? And we did it and we lived it. There's some guys that are hesitant to customize things, maybe because they're afraid they'll screw it up.
That's an understandable emotion.
I get that. And if, money doesn't grow on trees, we get that too. But if you want to try something, practice on something if you can, and then give it a go. Don't be afraid to customize something and make it your own.
Yep.
If you screw it up, hopefully it's easily fixable or you're doing it on a practice piece.
Yep. Well, and it is truly custom when it's something that you wanted and something that you did for yourself. And it is fun to build guns. I would encourage you to look into the Howa Mini Action lineup, both factory options and using it for the heart of your next little cartridge build.
Yeah, I'll probably have to make a switch, another barrel.
Oh yeah, because it's integral lug.
338 arc.
Oh, 338 arc would be cool in this thing.
Yeah.
Guy. Yep. All right, let's get some 338 barrels on order. Preston, thanks for coming on the podcast and thanks for bringing in your awesome little mini rifle.
You bet. Anytime.
Guys, hopefully you enjoyed this episode about Preston's miniature rifle and 6mm arc, a dual all-purpose type of cartridge and all-purpose type of build. Don't forget, if you want your very own Hornady Podcast t-shirt, you have to interact with us a little bit. We prefer you to do that on Facebook. It makes it really easy for us to comment and then get your information to send you the shirt. We'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.